Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dissecting Liberty podcast, where it is me, your favorite host, Liberty Zero, who carries every episode. And I have a fellow king, a fellow podcaster who carries his podcast, Kyle from Burning Boots. What's up, man?
Hell yeah. What's up? It's your boy. How are you? How was your week, bud?
Yeah, I had a great week. Thank you for asking. I know that you had to ask that.
Everybody makes fun of me about that. Yeah, everybody makes fun of me about that and say, "Well, man, there's such an empty, like, vapid question. You know, it's like it's got no weight to it or anything, and it's just like an empty gesture or something." But it always, every single time, it always sparks a conversation.
Yeah,
and people start talking about their week, and it picks up things, and so they can all suck on my ball sack. So, pardon my French. I can cuss on your podcast, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Just don't say
things.
Just don't say because then Cotton has to edit that out.
Okay. So he's gonna have to edit that out.
Yes, he is. So please say it as often as you want.
Good. All right, Cotton, my dear boy, you are a.
I'm not even gonna put timestamps in. I'm just gonna make him find them.
He's gonna have to listen to the whole thing,
and he's gonna enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah. Cotton sucks. Cotton's the inferior clothing. It's outdated.
Oh, for sure.
We have new materials now.
It's racist
too. Has made cotton obsolete. Which I just saw on Twitter. He was calling science fake and gay.
That sounds like him.
I can see why. Yeah.
Yeah.
Science has made him obsolete.
So I was talking. I don't know if you've listened to this episode that Pete Quinones did with Vin Armani, but it's been on my mind lately. Okay. So he talked about, like, Vin Armani came on, and the main thing that he wanted to get across during that episode was that logic and reasoning, like, don't get you anywhere when you're talking to people. And that you have to, you have to be able to talk, like, in the language that they know, and the word he used is magic, which is, yeah, right. It's so, but it's like kind of it's people are like, they believe things and it doesn't, like, they don't have a logical reasoning for it. And it's more of like a faith-based thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, you have, like, society as a whole that has religion completely ingrained in it for so long.
Mm-hmm.
For thousands upon thousands of years, like, pretty much since society has been founded, there's been religion tied into it, and so, in a lot of cases, it's been like the leading cause, I guess, or not cause, but factor in it. Like the state and the church was married. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, people, I guess you could say, are trained, and it's almost instinct to do that, to sit there and look at the world through a lens like that, to try to make sense of the unknown when our brains are literally incapable of understanding the unknown or infinity and those higher concepts.
Yeah, and so you have people that basically play modern day high priests. They either wear, like, a lab coat or a Supreme Court justice, like, robe, you know?
Oh yeah.
And then,
or a nice business suit.
Yeah. But so I've been thinking about that lately. Is just like, how do I communicate in, like, the language that people are gonna understand, I guess, because
how do you turn a logic-based argument into a emotion-driven argument?
Yeah, and it's like, I think most libertarians, we got here through logic and reasoning and, like, wanting to understand economics, stuff like that. And
right.
So it's kind of one of those. It's one of those. I guess. Basically, like, I'm having a hard time, like, just trying to think through that and figure out how I would go about doing that.
Right. I guess to draw from a recent interaction with my mom. I've been talking to my mom the past few months about liberty stuff, and she is the wife of a pastor. My dad's a pastor.
Yeah.
And they've been raised up in the church, obviously. She went to church her whole life, and I went to church my whole life and that kind of stuff. And they know that I've, turned my back on the church and whatnot. So what I've been talking about with her is mainly the moral argument of it. I haven't really dove into economics. Like, I've made economic arguments in the past, and it makes sense. But almost always they go into well, what about the roads? What about the things we need?
Yeah.
If you go into like, well, we can't afford this stuff. It's like, well, we kind of have to afford this stuff because we need this stuff.
Right.
But if you talk about just like, one thing I've definitely been talking about is in I want to say Second Chronicles. It talks about how the Jews begged God for a king, and God pretty much said, this is a really bad idea, but here you go. So, and then you have like this whole couple of books in the Old Testament that chronicle like just bad king after bad king, with a few good ones sprinkled in here. Like even one of the best ones, David, like literally lusted after this man's wife so much that he sent her husband to the front lines and then told everyone else to back up.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's like the only thing he could have done more obvious about it is just go up there and stab him himself,
Right, but being a monarch, he does what all monarchs do, and he'll allow other people to kill him or kill for him.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't have to get your hands dirty whenever you have power.
How does my volume sound?
It sounds good. Yeah, I can hear you good.
Okay, good. I was looking at Audacity here, and it was peaking.
Okay, you don't sound peaking to me, but...
Yeah, it may just be on the computer.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, so I've been talking to her about the whole, just the moral aspect of it. Starting at first principles, man. Like you go back to... we're two people sitting on an island. That whole spiel that I've been through a million times with people. We're two people sitting on an island, and I make a bunch of stuff, or I actually put the I guess burden of defense on them, and I'll say, you make a bunch of stuff. You build a little hut. You fish. You make a spear. You get some fish. You gather the fish and you cook them. And I sat on the beach and just worked on my tan. And then I come up there and I was like, hey, give me some of that. I don't have any, moral claim to that. It's not mine. It's not my property.
Yeah.
And me taking it is, theft. And then I say, what if it's two people? What if it's five? And what if we all come together and say, let's vote. Let's vote on it. And then they're always like, you're right. That is bad.
Yeah.
I've never had a person, say that it was a good thing, especially when you say, this is your stuff. Like, I was at the fair watching the booth for Davey before the election. And there's this person that came up, a man and his wife came up there and was talking to me about stuff. And he's like, well, this whole taxation is theft thing, like, explain that to me. Like, how is taxation theft? I'm like, it's very simple. Your stuff, your money and stuff, is that yours? Yeah, it is mine. Okay. Are you allowed to say no? And he's like, no. I'm like, then it's theft. He's like, oh, that makes
simple.
sense. Yeah, it's that simple. It's theft, But getting people to hate it is difficult, Stockholm syndrome, pretty hardcore.
Yeah, I remember when I first became an anarchist that, like, not that hating cops is a requirement, but it took me a while to hate cops. Just because growing up, it was, you back the blue, and the cops are the good guys.
Right.
And where would we be?
Right. Oh, yeah. The first thing I've told my mom I wanted to be when I grow up was I wanted to be an American policeman daddy. When I was like 3 or 4. So it's been like ingrained to me for a very long time, and that's actually something my mom's still holding on to, is the whole Blue Lives Matter thing.
Yeah.
I think I hit her with a good one the other day. I haven't really had a chance to talk to her about it, but there were some state troopers like parked not too far down the street, just sitting there, and I kept like peering out the window, looking at them, making sure they weren't coming to get me or something, you know?
Yeah. I feel that.
She was like, "Well, they got to do their job and blah 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 blah." She went into the whole standard arguments about, you know, the necessity of security and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, "Look, Mom, it's this simple. I'm against them, and so if things start happening, they're going to be against me. So you're just going to have to choose between them or your son." I hate to be so blunt about it, but you know, that's just the truth of it, you know?
Right. Yeah, so I was heading to church this morning. I know that no one on your podcast has any great love for religion or Christianity, but anyway, so I was heading to church this morning, and it looked like a drug bust was going down, like on my street as we were driving out, and that just kind of pissed me off, like for half the drive there, because you know I was like, man, I don't know, like I almost felt like, you know, pulling over and just filming it or something, you know,
Right.
You know, and maybe, who knows, maybe this guy's an actual criminal, but you know, for the most part, that's not the people that the cops are after. That's the protected class, really, the pedophiles and the thieves that are actually good at their jobs. The politicians, right?
Yep. The criminals with the good PR.
Exactly.
Like Derek was, he shared a post from a local newspaper here, the Lake City Reporter, out of my small little piece of shit town. There was a dude who wrecked. He was in a single vehicle collision. I guess he hit like a telephone pole or skidded off the road or missed a deer or something. I don't know what the parameters of this, but when the police arrived on the scene to help the guy, they also discovered guns, drugs, and money in the car. So he got arrested. And I'm just thinking,
sounds like an American.
Right. And like, I get the stigma behind drugs, and it's easy for people to go, "Oh, well, drugs," you know, and then they think of like all the movies they've seen over the past 30 years, just these floral shirt wearing, like hairy chested guys with machine guns and gold chains, you know,
right?
Just mowing people down in the streets. So yeah, the propaganda machine is so strong, and you notice like the propaganda against anything that the state has a monopoly over.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Like one of the first things when the state, where was I reading this? I can't remember where I was reading it, or maybe I saw a video or something. I don't remember where I found this or where I heard it, but somebody was talking about, you know what? It might have been in the third section of Sedition, Subversion, and Sabotage. Maybe. I don't know. But anyway, as soon as the state took a monopoly over the justice system, and you had like state mandated police everywhere.
Yeah.
Because like before, towns would elect their own sheriff and do their own thing, and everything ran, you know, the way they wanted to. But once like everything unionized and federalized and all that kind of stuff, like it got more and more tentacles of the big machine all into the small towns and stuff. But one of the first things is, if you go back to like the 40s and 50s, all of a sudden you see vigilantism being vilified.
Yeah.
In all the westerns.
Yeah.
People like throwing posses together trying to go get the bad guy. And these were the bad guys. It was the good the good law-abiding sheriff that had to stop these posses and bring about real justice, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Us normal people aren't allowed to do that because we might make mistakes.
Right. Yeah. God forbid we make a mistake.
Right. Yeah. It's
I always just run back to that one statistic from, of all places, the UK. Because of the influx of Middle Easterners into the UK, the regular police department was starting to, this was back in, I want to say 2016, 2017.
yeah.
The normal police department was starting to get just overrun with, like thefts and stabbings and stuff like that, and they couldn't keep up with it, keep up with all the smaller stuff. So they contracted out all the smaller crimes to these firms that would just, like bounty systems or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
These people would go out and build cases on these people, and they had a 100% conviction rate.
I remember reading about that.
Yeah, 100% conviction rate, just because they're subject to the market. If they do a shit job, they're out of a job. But you got guys like these deputies in like Phoenix who shot this dude in his, coming out of his apartment while they were hiding around the corner.
Are you talking about Ryan Whitaker or a different guy?
There were two, I guess, in Phoenix. Wasn't there? There was one where they made him come out and gave him all the stupid commands, and obviously he couldn't follow the commands, and he said crying and everything.
Yeah.
There's that guy, and then there's the other one, the big guy, the former, I think he was former Army or something, but they're making salsa and playing Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, so the first one you're talking about is Daniel Shaver, and then the second one is Ryan Whitaker.
Right. And of course, Breonna Taylor.
Yep.
So they make these mistakes that cost people their lives, and they might have some paid time off.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly.
And that's it.
But no, I do have some thoughts on that. Yes. So speaking of mistakes that, like the vigilantes are supposedly going to make, and not that that's impossible, but like how many? Did you remember hearing about that? What was it? One of the lab workers that would fake evidence and got hundreds of what was it, black guys, or maybe just anyone. Like she faked evidence and got a ton of people put into prison.
Oh my gosh.
I might have to look that up and see if I can.
I think all of those people's sentences should be passed on to that person.
Right. Yeah. I know that she was convicted.
Yeah. So you were telling me about this person that was they did get convicted, you said?
Yeah. She was caught and then she did get convicted, but of course, I don't know how many people it was, but they had years of their life wasted.
Yeah. And there's stories, like that pop up that are just similar. Like I saw a cop that, was banging his dog or something, and then they found child porn on his computer.
Good night. Yeah.
Yeah. There's ones where
where they rape someone.
Up tons of. Yeah, where they rape people or they plant evidence, like cops will keep crack in their pocket.
Oh, yeah.
And then just look what we found in your car.
Yeah, so, and then they
really makes you wonder, anytime. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, they it's the funny ones where they forget that their body cam will record the 30 seconds before they turn it on.
Yeah.
And then they go toss it somewhere.
Yeah. Or what was it? Just one thing that's always kind of blown my mind is that I'm not even sure do cops even turn on their radars anymore? Because I know, at least in Florida, A cop does not have to present any evidence that you were speeding.
Really?
Like
It's
like
just
if you were
it's
to
just
take
their
a-
word.
Well, pretty much. Like I do know what it is if you take a speeding ticket to court, the only thing that they require of the police officer is that they can prove that their equipment is working correctly.
Wow. And so they
Yeah,
they don't
that's
need to say how fast you were going. Just that okay,
Right.
wow. That's crazy. Because
You
yeah,
don't
you're
have to prove that you were actually speeding. And then they can search your car if they smell weed, you know.
yeah. And
So, like,
they smell weed
They
quite a bit.
literally have like a yeah, they literally have like this I can do whatever I want permission, you know?
Yeah.
If you get on the bad side of a cop, your life could be ruined for absolutely no reason other than he doesn't like you.
Yeah, or he's power tripping that day.
Right. Which
Although that's every day.
that yeah. that reminds me of that story about Stanley Glickman, also from the Sedition, Subversion, and Sabotage, with the CIA, his run-in with the CIA. Did you read that book or listen to me read it?
I did, and I remember messaging you and telling you that I was surprised a Marine could read that well.
Right? I surprise myself sometimes. I actually scored pretty high on the ASVAB, and they told me I should go intelligence, and I said, nah, I want to do infantry. I could read well, but I was not smart. But how Stanley Glickman was at a French cafe, and he pissed off this CIA guy. He didn't know he was a CIA guy. The CIA guy put LSD in his coffee.
Oh wow.
And then the dude started tripping and thought he was going nuts. So he actually, I think he self-committed himself
Yeah.
to a mental institution just to get checked out. And that's when the CIA guys actually went in there and said, hey, we're going to take this guy. And they started doing like electroshock therapy and stuff on him until his brain was fried.
Damn.
Yeah.
I remember
Just
you.
because they didn't like him. That is the state, man. That is our enemy, you know? That is why they're our enemy, because they have this just excruciating grip on our lives. And most people have grown either too complacent, too scared, or too stupid to even notice it.
Yeah. Well, I want to get into solutions here, and there's something that we're gonna get into. We talked about that before, but my one of my favorite solutions. I was over here, and I can see some of my loaded mags.
Yeah.
From where I was sitting, and I noticed that the brass on some of these 223 rounds, like the top two, is actually dented, like near the neck of it. Do you think? I think you'd probably know more about this than me. Can I still shoot that?
Is it dented like off the base a little bit? Or is it right there at where the round goes in?
It's about like it's right below the bullet.
Okay.
Kind of where the taper starts.
Okay. You should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you should be fine. I know that I've shot some pretty suspicious ammunition before. It turned out all right.
Yeah.
But waste not, want not. Yeah, I don't see, like, if it's just a little dent, I don't see how it'd be a big issue. But
okay.
If there was something where, like, if it was peeled back a little bit where the round actually goes in, or
right.
if it's dented right there, I would be a little worried, you know.
Yeah, no, it's
I'd probably toss that one, but
it's clamped tight around the bullet, so Should be good.
Okay.
All right. Cool. But no, let's get into something your brainchild, the Free County Project. You've been talking about that on Burning Boots for a while. Do you just kind of want to give us an overview of what that is?
Oh man. Yeah. Let's see. The best way I can describe the Free County Project, it was born from the Free State Project. But the Free State Project I always thought was too ambitious of a project to just jump into. The Free County Project is something that I think is more achievable, and not necessarily like taking over their government or anything. Although that would ultimately that would be the goal, is to get guys like Davey, to get elected into certain positions, and then just start either turning the state's head away from certain activities, or dismantling or just shutting things down from the inside. That'd be the greatest thing. However, I think that by itself will never happen, and you're going to have to. The only way to really, I guess, convince people that there is another alternative to the state is to show them. People are very visual when it comes to that stuff, and they're never going to just say, well, this is some system that I've never seen anywhere. It sounds nice, but I have no evidence that this is going to work. So let's just all jump into this. No, they're not going to do that. So the best way, I think, we should all kind of move towards this is each and every one of us liberty-minded folk need to be more focused on our communities. And ideally, it would be great for liberty-minded people to start conglomerating in general areas, preferably in like counties that are already, pretty liberty-minded. Like if you were to go, say, for instance, to the middle of nowhere, Wyoming, or South Dakota, where they have that one lady who's their governor is pretty, liberty-minded, even though she's still
pretty based
a red status, Yeah.
Right.
But that's definitely a place where you could probably get people to turn their eyes, on certain things.
Right.
Like if you had some short barrel rifles with suppressors and you didn't have tags for them or something, that'd probably be a place where they'd go, he ain't hurt nobody. But you do that in certain counties, and then you're gonna wind up like Duncan Lemp or something like that. What I'm gonna be focusing on now in this new year, I'm gonna be starting before that, but like I've started talking to some of my neighbors, and surprisingly, people are more liberty-minded than they voice. At least in private. In private, people, I would say, are a lot more liberty-minded. And I say that with a grain of salt because I know that I'm going to get ripped open by people who listen to this, because they're going to be, right-wingers are all statists too and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, people don't like getting into other people's business.
Yeah.
And if you have a neighbor that is one of those people that just wants to get inside your business, then maybe consider moving to a different place or convincing them to move to a different place.
Yeah, well, it seems like all the right wingers are against, or most of them are pro drug war, but they'll know someone that smokes weed or whatever, and they're never going to rat them out.
Right. And most of them respect private property. One thing I've noticed, though, is that when you start talking about that's a good way to punch the right is from the right and be like, well, I'm more about private property than you are. You're more socialist than I am, because I believe in absolute private property rights. But like I'm going to be going to all my neighbors in a certain, I guess, area, like distance-wise from my house, and I'm going to try to get them all over to my house when it cools down a bit, and I'm going to have a big old barbecue. That's what I'm going to sell it as, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get as many people, like sniff out the liberty-minded ones in there, because I don't have to. Like the FCP is not like a commune. It's not like we're all gonna chip in and buy one piece of property.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying that there aren't groups out there that would be for that, but like it'd be more like a conglomerate of property owners that have the same ideas.
Yeah.
And they just be in a general location, because you don't have to be butted up right next to each other. You can have a status neighbor,
right?
And you just don't deal with them. You just go right by their house to your other neighbor's house.
Yeah.
And deal with them. One of the requirements is that at least one of them probably needs to have some property in which you can disappear on. And when I say that, like, just where they have access to places that aren't observable from the road. So the status neighbor doesn't snitch on y'all if you are doing something, maybe like a fenced-in area or nice deep woods or something.
Right.
Because, like, you're obviously going to be doing some things that the state isn't going to like. And that's part of freedom, though. It reminds me of, like, the William Wallace thing. They knew that they were never going to defeat the British.
Yeah.
But I think wasn't it Cotton that was talking about that? That brought up that reference? Maybe not. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, he was talking about how William Wallace rebellion was okay. That was weird. Just popped up and said it ended a meeting, and a new meeting was started. Okay.
Dude, Cotton strikes again, man.
Fuck Cotton.
That's right. He's trying to ruin the Zero and Kyle show. He's just jealous.
Yeah, he's just totally jealous. Son of a bitch.
I want this to be part of the show, so I'm going to explain this to everyone. We're recording over Zoom, and suddenly the Zoom meeting ends, and on my end it says that it stopped because someone else has logged in and started a Zoom meeting, and I was using the show account, and so the only other person with access to that account is Cotton. So he almost assuredly. That's right. So where were we?
I vaguely remember what was it? I was talking about doing stuff on your neighbor's property,
Yeah.
I was talking about William
Having
Wallace.
someplace
that's
right.
hidden.
Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah. So, yeah, with William Wallace, he pretty much said that, the freedom is the rebellion. Like, you're living within the state, but you're living as free men, just rebelling. And the chances of, getting busted and going to prison for a long time is, or being killed. That's just one of the dangers of freedom. But
right.
Hey, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say exactly what you just said.
Yeah. I think Michael Malice, on a recent tweet, man, that guy tweets a lot. I think he just lives on Twitter, doesn't he?
Probably, yeah.
But he was saying something about how we already live in anarchy because, like, every country, there's no world government. Every country has its own set of rules and laws and everything. It's just, and we're already living in anarchy. It's just every bit of land is already just snagged up by criminal organizations.
Yeah, I mean, and you can, in a way, you can choose whether or not you're going to be ruled.
Right.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you're
100%.
rebelling, yeah, like you were saying that what did you just say about it? Because it made sense, but I don't remember what you just said. But you were saying that the rebellion,
the freedom is within rebellion. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, you know, I got hounded on all the time. You know, where's your line? Where at what point are you going to say this is enough? I'm going to do what I want, or this is where I choose to submit. You know, it's just all levels of submission. Like, I have a driver's license.
Yeah.
You know, I'm submitting to that. Because, you know, if I get caught without it, it's jail time. But
yeah.
That's still submitting to the state, you know. Adam Kokesh is the one who fucked me with that one. I was making this argument on when he was on the show one day on Burning Boots. And he was like, well, do you have a driver's license? I'm like, you son of a bitch. I had nothing to say to it. What can you say to it? You know, you're submitting to the state just by having a driver's license.
Yeah, it's all about, like, what can you, like, stomach in terms of submission. Yeah. And at some point, it just gets to be, or you just can't deal with it anymore.
Yeah, you pay your property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
You pay
income tax.
You know, income tax. You pay that exorbitant gas tax. You don't start businesses without their consent.
Yeah. Know? Unless you're a real one.
Right. A real man.
Yeah, unless you agorist it.
Exactly. Yeah. Which I'm kind of curious. Like, one of the most well-known agorists out there would have to be, you know, Sal.
Yeah.
I wonder how far he's gone. You know.
Yeah. Well, you won't get him to admit it over. On something that's being recorded.
Right. Absolutely not. But I'm just curious as to how far have people actually gone out there? Because, like, most of us probably have driver's licenses and that, you know, kind of stuff. But, like, I want to get away from all that. And I think a good way to really put your middle finger to the system and to get as free as possible for as many people as possible. The big win would be a winning, like, sheriff as a libertarian, and then saying, I'm not going to enforce victimless laws or crimes. You know, I'm not going to enforce laws that do not have a victim. If you just followed that one rule.
So what you're saying is that, like, the biggest victory to you would be, like, beating them at their, like, playing their game and then beating them at it.
Well, that
by taking over an office.
One way. Yeah, that would be one way. That'd probably be the safest way, but also one of the more difficult ways.
Yeah.
But if you could do that, then you've pretty much secured liberty for everyone in your county, you know? Because if they don't pay their taxes and you don't enforce it, who's going to send the cops there, you know? A sheriff, at least in Florida, has the authority to kick Fed boys out of the county.
Yeah.
The only issue is, like, if you have a governor that removes you from power, pretty much kicks you out of office, because the governor reserves that right.
Right. I real quick, I remember when people were talking when Virginia and that Second Amendment rally, when that was a thing, and you had these different sheriff's offices, you know, talking about, you know, they're not going to be enforcing these laws. I remember one person said that basically these county governments and stuff like that, they basically, and this might just be in Virginia, but they basically exist, like, at the pleasure of the state of Virginia and can be dissolved at any time.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's
Alachua County.
Just yeah.
I know Alachua County, where Gainesville is like, a lot of the people there are getting fed up with what we were talking about before we started recording. A lot of people there are getting fed up with that kind of stuff. So they're actually pushing for getting on the 2024 ballot, maybe 2022 ballot, if ballots are still around then. But trying to get on there to split the whole county off and make something called Springs County, to where people in Springs County do their own thing away from them and everything. But it has to get approved through the state. Like, it has to go on a county ballot, but then it also has to go through the state legislature. So the state still has the ultimate say on whether or not that even happens.
Yeah. You have to wonder if that would happen.
Yeah, but at some point, like, regardless of what you want to do, at some point, if you get enough people together, it's going to attract attention. And eventually, people with guns will come and try to shut you down. And whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, there's going to come a time where you either submit and take and kick the can down to the next generation, or you just start shooting people. I don't know how else to really put it, you know? It's just, it's a fact. Our founding fathers had to do it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's your, that's like the logical conclusion to so many, of like the problems that we that we have to deal with. Like when we're libertarians, it's, are the cops willing to shoot me over this? And like the answer is always yes. And then you have to ask yourself, if you're willing to shoot, you know, someone else in defense of your liberty or property, or
right.
And then that's what it comes down to, is like force and violence.
Yeah, that's the hard ask of liberty. It's the hard ask of maintaining a free life, because the people are always going to try to use force against you. Like, that's one thing I like about the bottom right quadrant on the political compass, is that they understand that there's no such thing as a utopia.
Yeah.
So we understand that we need our guns for a reason, not just to deter things, but to actually shoot people sometimes.
And do you think that's kind of what it comes down to when you're talking about like a small scale freedom movement, like the Free County Project? Do you think that having something like rifles, maybe some modified guns that, you know, you turn into machine guns or whatever, do you think that having enough people that are willing to use them in the same spot, do you think that you could, what I'm getting at is, do you think that you'll be Waco'd, or do you think it's possible to have enough people like know what you're about, and, you know, just to where it will make the feds look bad if they come after you?
Yeah. See, that's the big thing, is like Waco was propaganda mixed with bad tactics. Like with Waco, they were all in one building.
Yeah.
There was only like 70 to 100 of them. And the media portrayed them as like child raping cultists.
Yeah.
So that it was very easy to get away with it. And even then, with all that stacked against them, that's still a huge black eye on the state. And it still lives to this day as a huge black eye on the state. They don't want more of that. They'll do it. Don't get me wrong here. They'll do it, but they don't want more of that, because in order to defeat the state, going back to SS&S, but in order to defeat the state, it's not about actually like making it topple. It's about eroding people's trust in it.
Yeah.
And letting it topple under its own weight.
Yeah, and if you show the state to be incompetent and incapable of providing what they say they will, and this is going back to sedition. What was it? Sedition, something, and sabotage.
Subversion, sedition, and sabotage.
There we go. Yeah, but
Yeah.
if you can show that the state that the propaganda that the state puts out is false, like on a wide scale, and if you can prove them, like if you can prove them to be liars more than people already distrust politicians, then if you make it real, right?
Yeah.
If you make it real,
Make
where
it affect their life.
you can, yeah, you can go look out the door and you see, okay, the road hasn't been maintained, in 5 years, or
Right.
yeah, so, and then yeah, so that's part of it. So the
And a lot of
question
people
is,
think
can
that-
you?
Yeah, a lot of people
Go
think that, that you need like all these people's like willing active support and everything in order to achieve this goal. And that is just factually incorrect. You don't need a whole lot of people aboard to do it. You just need a lot of people to say, I'm not going to rat that guy out.
Yeah, yeah,
Because most people are not going to get involved. Most people just want to live their own life, even if it is, under the state. Not the state doesn't have as many activists as they do detractors. Like you have some very loud people that advocate for the state in general. Sure, and
right.
there's a good bunch of them, but there's a lot of people who just like the government freaking sucks. But it's just a fact of life that we have to deal with it. And if you go out and, you subvert it and get out from underneath it and show them that there's an option outside of it, they may be too scared to join you, but they might respect you for doing it and at least say, you know what, I'm not going to, when the cop shows up and says, hey, you know where so-and-so is? Nope, haven't seen him. Sorry.
Yeah, that's why you have to demonize the Karens now. Right.
right. Yeah, we have to eliminate all the Karens right away.
Exactly. So,
but yeah.
So what get me started here. What are some of the biggest objections to the Free County project? Like, why do people say that's never going to work?
The biggest one is that you're going to get Waco'd.
Okay,
That's the number one detractor to the whole Free County project. Is everyone I've talked to, there's always been the conversation of how are you not going to get Waco'd? And like I discussed before, it's a big part of it is just making allies with your neighbors, and just being a part of the community and being an asset to the community, showing them that freedom is awesome and fixes stuff and it solves problems, and they're the ones that helped you change your tire. They're the ones that helped you get those cows back in the fence. Those crazy anarchists, they're the ones that helped me, fix my roof. When I couldn't afford the permit, to get a licensed contractor. So and then when you just do other things outside of that, and that's the next phase of it is make the state look bad at every turn. You're gonna have the book suggests that there's like 3 types of people. There's the above ground activists, there's the friend saboteurs, and then there's the next level guys. So you have like above ground activists would be just anytime the state screws up, call them out on it, especially at local levels, and just hold them accountable to their actions, to their misdeeds. The friend saboteurs are the ones who give them a black eye, like that brand new road that they just built. Sneak out in the night and go put a pickaxe through it. And then you got new potholes on brand new roads, and it's going to take them like 3 years to get around to fixing that road again because they just wasted their budget on building a new jail for all the drug criminals,
Right.
So, and then you got the other guys. Like the other guys, they're the ones that I guess would operate on a bigger scale, the bigger picture, because I can't possibly see doing some really nasty stuff. Like on local levels, you know what I'm saying? Like,
like going after like a local politician or whatever.
Like assassinating a county commissioner. That sounds completely stupid to me, and bad tactics. A lot of it.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of it comes down to the tactics of it.
Unless you get someone that's really hated on a local level.
Right. But like, for instance, politicians that enact gun control laws, or say, for instance, you lived in a near, like the ATF headquarters or something, and you know that there's the guy at the coffee shop right there. That's the guy right there that enacted the bans on certain guns that made millions of felons overnight with a stroke of a pen. You know, that guy has actively violated the property rights of millions of people. And there needs to be justice for that, you know? But I ain't got to worry about that where I am. None of those types of people are nowhere near me out in the middle of nowhere.
That's right. So, and all this, we definitely do not endorse any such actions. And
for sure.
This is all Minecraft.
Yeah.
This is a video game podcast.
Anarchy server. Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
But,
so
one of the things that I do hate though is that our nation was founded on rebellion and sedition and subverting the crown and, like killing redcoats.
Yeah.
So
and people were we were a nation of smugglers,
right?
Trying to get around the was it the Navigation Acts?
Oh, where, yeah.
Where they inspect your ship and then tax you accordingly. And it was just like just a bunch of guys with their boats, going into some little cove and offloading instead of the harbor.
Right. And at some point, these guys with their boats threw cannons on them.
Yeah.
So
gained parity with the state.
Yeah.
To a point.
Yeah. Man, it's a tragedy that it's so difficult to have open, honest conversations about liberty, about freedom and about what is right. And that is a big part of it, is like, even if you did go the full Monty, right? And you started like just whacking politicians, morally speaking, you would be correct.
Yeah.
But you'll never win that day in the court of public opinion. And that's a big part of where like the above ground activists, like podcasters and people on Twitter, like Michael Malice or something, or Dave Smith, they need to do their best, do their due diligence, and try to sway as much of the public opinion as possible to where people actually don't see that as necessarily a bad thing. And it's already getting there. Like right now is like a primed example because of how polarized the two wings are after this whole election debacle. But like right now, you have so many people that are like actively showing their disgust with the government.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about Joe Biden supposedly getting elected, is that
right.
Like that it's reminding the right that they hate the feds.
Right, yeah.
They forgot that the past 4 years, of course.
Yeah, and honestly, I got to throw on my tinfoil hat here because I'm a pretty big conspiracy theorist. I try not to be quite so bad as I used to be, for sure. But
well, I'm the conspiracy host of this podcast.
I think that Trump was planted by the deep state just to quell the right before it became a big mess. Because like even with Trump at the beginning of this year, before the virus, like what was going on? What was happening? The big thing at Virginia, like the buzz on the internet was, hey, Boog win, you know?
Right, exactly.
And it was like on everybody's
1776.
Yeah, it was on everybody's lips, but nobody was actually saying it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
So,
did you so there was Mr. Guns and Gear on YouTube?
I have not heard of him.
Okay, well he's a pretty big guy. He reviews guns and gear.
Okay.
And he was posting at that time these different like clips from people who showed up to like town halls or county level meetings. And then, of course there was like hundreds of people who would show up to these things, and then some of them would get to speak. And there was one where it was this cop, right? And he's a vet as well. And he's against these laws, right? And he was telling these guys that these like undercover cops or like off-duty cops would go into bars at the time, and he was like, there are people who are actually talking about like killing politicians and like booging right now, and you guys need to like calm the heck down, because like there's plenty of cops that don't want to be involved in that.
Right. Yeah. They're there for the power, but not for the consequences from violently enforcing that power.
Yeah, exactly.
So like that, man, I'm thinking that's why the virus was played up so much. It's because they knew the cards. They knew what was happening. They knew what was coming down the pipe for them. And then all of a sudden, nobody can leave their house for fear of death.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Then you get all these people conditioned for it, and then look where we are now.
Yeah, they had to like really put all the cards on the table, I guess. That's how you'd say that.
Yeah, pull all the stops. And now they've primed this whole civil war to distract everyone from targeting the real shitheads, the elite. Because it doesn't matter. Left or right is stupid.
Yeah.
Left or right does not matter. It's authoritarianism versus liberty every day of the week. And what happened with this is they sit there and like they pumped it up. They filled it with they filled everybody's head full of violence against the other side of the aisle. And now with this election, you have people who think, oh, well, Trump definitely won. And then you have the other half of people thinking, oh, well, Biden definitely won. And neither side is going to concede. Neither side is going to, unite with the other side. They've no matter what happens on January 22nd, we're looking at some really bad shit coming down the next year.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And it's all to usher in the new wave of authoritarianism. That's why I want to focus on the local shit, because I'm never, ever in a million years going to have a lick of influence.
Yeah, we have no say
on anything big.
So
I'm going to focus on
back.
What I can.
Yeah. But going back to why the Free County Project won't be Waco theoretically. I mean, it's going to be a cult. That's already like marked in stone, right? But you're not going to be like all in like one spot, right?
Right.
Like in the same building, and so
right.
What kind of? But you would have defense, and so like what kind of system do you think that we'd be looking at there?
I don't know exactly, obviously, but I have an idea in my own head on how that would happen. Is you'd have the guys in the neighborhood that would be the call twos. One thing I would definitely do is, which is my plan within my local community here, is to, once I get everyone together, start to get a good name and face going on with everybody around here, start, building an actual sense of community again, finding the liberty-minded people within the community already, and then maybe even spread out, because those guys probably have a few friends that are kind of close by. Building a network within that of guys who are actually like the shit kickers, and then have it to where the people in the community just don't call 911 if they have a property rights issue. They call their local guys.
Yeah.
And communication within the network is going to be key. And it could be, however it wants to get set up. I know Derek knows ways of making communication pretty secure. But even if it was just like walkie-talkies or ham radios or Morse code or whatever it is, however you need to communicate with each other, you can make it work, because all you need is for people to show up and know what they're stepping into. So if, like, for instance, neighbor A is, operating his business without a license, and then the EPA shows up and wants to shut him down, and then they send out some deputies or whatever, he gives them a call. Because, like, they're always going to show up first and say, hey, you're doing this wrong. I'm going to come back and inspect you, blah, 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 blah. And then after that, that's when they're going to actually send cops or whatever. So the problem areas are already going to be on the radar. So if the cops were to show up, they better send a lot of them. And they better be willing to do some nasty stuff, because they would call the local guys who are against that stuff, and then they know the area. They know whose properties they can sneak through if they need to. They know how to set up on certain things. We would already have a plan of action on how to defend the person in question on their property.
Yeah.
And it'd be pretty much like, instead of, like, Waco, they got surrounded by the ATF. Well, imagine if,
it'd be
like,
the other way
a bunch
around.
of guys surrounded the ATF. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and even then, like, several ATF guys died. And they had the upper hand and everything. But, yeah. That's pretty much my answer to it on the, just off the cuff. Without knowing my actual resources that will be available one day, that's how I would see it happening.
Yeah. And then,
And
I guess,
hopefully,
go ahead.
Yeah, hopefully what you would do is you just show them the force and say, look, you can die on this hill, or you can drive away.
Right. And then, I mean, that's kind of what I think, or I've been thinking, like, over the past couple of years, is like, that's how you do it. Like, are you aware of the, like, the voluntarist? I think they're voluntarist. I know that the people who host it are like ANCAPs and stuff, but there's a voluntarist group in Dallas, and every year they host a Feed the Homeless open carry event.
Oh, that's
because
cool.
in Dallas, yeah, but yeah, so in Dallas, you're not allowed to feed homeless people because, God forbid that, right?
Right.
And so they show up with AR-15s and whatnot, and the cops, like, I think the first year or two, they showed up and they'd watch from a distance, and then now they're just free to do it.
Yeah,
but yeah, they're not about to get shut down.
Yeah, when it really comes down to it, a lot of times cops are pussies.
Yeah.
As long as,
I mean,
what they operate mostly out of is that initial fear that they instill just from the implications of having all the guns in the room.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, how many people, like the drug dealers and all that have guns, like, they don't have those for the cops because they know better. Because when the cops come in, it's 15 of them and they're wearing, body armor and whatnot, right?
Right.
But So yeah, it's for the cops, it's being able to just, show overwhelming force on occasion, and the rest is reputation, and they just get what they want.
Mm-hmm. Because people lie down and submit too often, too easy.
Yeah. Now, what do you think that, like, kind of moving off from security, even though I know that's a topic that you love and I love, but like, what kind of economic opportunities do you think would arise if you had this group of people that are cooperating and have an understanding, and they have these similar values? Like, have you?
For one, right now, I know that there's a law. I don't know if it's nationwide or if it's statewide. I don't think it might. If it's anywhere, I don't think it's in Florida. If it's statewide, but I know in some places. So I guess this would be more targeted toward people outside of Florida. But there's like laws in place. I remember seeing something about it where farmers can't eat their own food. They have to sell it all.
Wow.
They can't grow. They can't grow for themselves. They can't use their livestock for themselves. I'm sure, obviously, people do it all the time, but that's one of those things where the state, puts their thumb down on it. But for one, farming without being told not to farm this stuff and being able to sell it without, going through EPA stuff and having to be just like right now, if you go to a farmer's market in Florida, you can buy meat, but it has to be labeled not for human consumption, because you can't legally sell food for human consumption without it passing through EPA regulations and stuff. But in this, it would be an open thing to go down to the market and buy some food from your local farmer or whatever, or just trading. Manufacturers, I guess you could say, would be popping up inside these communities, even if it's just like a little shop behind someone's house. I think the opportunities for economic advancement are just fantastic, because like you could, if you shirk, like obviously security has to come first, because the bigger of an economic footprint that you're going to leave, you're just throwing it in the face of the state that they're not getting their cut, and they're going to feel that.
Yeah,
that's where they actually start taking interest in really starting to get pissed off. So security would have to be first, but I can see how economically you would be able to subvert so much, and just because of a free market within your community. It's like hard to say like how far it could go.
Yeah. No, that's obviously the beautiful thing about the market.
Obviously, we wouldn't be able to get like a cheap metal from China, unless you were on a coast and paid off some Coast Guard guys or whatever it is. But like that's a whole other like conversation. But for instance, making guns with scrap metal, like melting, like getting your own foundry and melting down your own scrap metal and turning them into guns, or turning them into, melting down old copper and turning it into your own wire, logging your own lumber, building like pretty much everything you need to build your own houses in the community.
Yeah.
Just would be so much cheaper. Especially when everybody in the community already has like a idea of community. So they may not be, obviously it's not going to be like a socialist commune kind of thing. People are going to do it for profit, but there's so much more margin for profit, and there is so much more like reduced costs on stuff, that people being just generally like neighborly could give you a fair price. They'd make a good bit of money, but it'd still be way cheaper than the market price.
Yeah. Now, have you heard about this town in Mexico where basically they've kicked out the government and there were some logging companies, I think it was, that were like really corrupt and I think possibly violent or something towards like the local population, but they kicked everyone out, and like they just like they have a community there, and they just live it, the way they want to, and they have some machine guns, set up at different points, like to get in and out, because I think it's fairly difficult to. I think there's like one road in and out or whatever. Do you think that how do you see the Free County Project working out? Is it at some point like you break away, or is it more of a like, yeah, we're, the United States can consider us to be part of them, but like
I think
come in and find out what happens. Don't mess with us type thing.
I think it'd be like a unspoken agreement. I don't care who says that they the whose flag should be flying there, as long as they don't actually try to plant one. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's like certain parts of like cities where the cops don't go there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It'd just be like a big not city area. It'd be like Chaz, but not stupid.
Yeah, you can actually grow plants.
Yeah. Yep. Or you could have like, one guy who has a bunch of land, and he is the farmer.
Specializes,
and he hires people to farm. Yeah. And then this other guy down the street, maybe 3 blocks down the road or whatever, maybe a couple miles. I don't know how far it's going to be, but he's the guy that you go take your scrap metal to, and he melts it all down. So I think it's kind of like instead of centralizing, it'd be way more decentralized and individual based. Like every single person in it, like there wouldn't be necessarily like a leader or anything. It's just hey, we all understand this idea, and we all are on board with it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it for that I can think of. I mean, obviously, I'll answer any questions you have. I appreciate you asking me about this, because I have a hard time getting it out in a succinct way. There's a lot of moving parts to it that I have a hard time putting together, but you do a fantastic job of asking specific questions that get me on the right path.
Well, I'm glad I could help. Yeah, I mean, I those were the main questions that I had for right now. Maybe we'll have you back on, and after a while, after you've kind of, I know that you're thinking about it all the time, so I'm sure that you're always thinking of like new solutions or like new ideas of how it would work. So yeah. I think we'll probably have you back on, and of course, Cotton brings a little bit different perspective, but yeah, for right now, I think we had a great conversation about it.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. I really hope that it reaches the right ears and more people can criticize it, throw it through the thought grinder, and try to come up with something that's even better. That's the main thing. Is I want it to work. I don't want to do it myself and be the one that gets like credit for it or anything like that. I just want it to work, because that's ultimately my goal. Is I just want to live as a free man. That's all I want. Is I just want to live as a free man. So anybody that also believes that should at least chew on it and see what they can do in their own community. Talk to their like there was this thing on Twitter. I think it was a crowdfunded government. God bless him, crazy dude. He was talking about what was it? Oh shoot, hold on, I'm gonna have to. Anyway, I think the main point of it was that he was talking about how useless the LP was as per usual.
Of course.
And he made a specific point to it, to where I'm trying to pull it up on Twitter right now. Go to my profile. Thing is I tweet quite a bit now.
Well, while you're looking for it, I have a message for Theodore real quick.
Okay.
I just think he needs to realize that Dissecting Liberty is now a heavyweight podcast, and he should be grateful for the times that we had him on. But at this point, we've gotten too big for him, and he needs to let go and realize he's not coming on the show again. That's kind of an inside joke.
Yes. Anyways, where the hell? How long ago did I do it? Anyway, the main point of it was that what's more effective than like the Libertarian Party? How about just going out and having a conversation with your neighbors?
Yeah. Oh, I think I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've already spoken to 2 of my neighbors recently. One of them we had a long conversation. He was a chatty Cathy, but he was very liberty minded, and he was even on board with like a community security team. Just after one conversation, he thinks that things should be handled within the community. We shouldn't have to call the cops. And I'm like,
that's beautiful.
Hell, yeah, and I've never spoken to this guy before today, or not today, but that day. Mm-hmm. So you'd be surprised. Just get out there, and if I can tell anybody anything, just get out there and talk to your neighbors.
Yeah, and see where the conversation takes you, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, before we end it here, I just wanted to ask one more question.
Okay.
And that's like how great is that load that you have on your shoulders from carrying your show when you have Derek and Davey, right? Those 2 clowns.
Oh, like, I'm so tired, man.
Yeah.
I'm always so tired.
You know, you have to bring all the funny for the show. you have to bring it all, right?
I'm the bread and butter. Most of you don't know this, but I'm actually Davey. I do a voice for Davey.
I believe
it's me. It's me and Derek. It's just me and Derek. Davey actually doesn't exist. You can put any name you want on a ballot. I actually ran for tax collector.
And Derek just reads his lines, right?
Yeah, Derek just he writes everything down, and that's why he's got the whole hatred for reading out loud, is because he doesn't want to get anyone on his tail. He wants to throw people off his tracks.
That makes sense.
That's why he always But for real, it's been a hell of a year doing that podcast, man. It's been a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah. And for all our listeners, I think most of you, we have a lot of interaction between our shows. I think most of you guys listening know who Kyle is and know his show. But for anyone who doesn't for some reason, you should go listen to it. It's like, it's really funny. They're just funny off the cuff. Irreverent. Yes, very irreverent. But you guys occasionally really bring some smart thoughts to the table, and then you get autistic about contracts and crap like that. And it's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. We get to the root of the issues, like can retards fuck?
Yeah, exactly. And yes, so irreverence, and that's the main thing with your show. But thank you, man, so much for coming on. and
Thank
I
you for
really
having
enjoyed it. Yeah, man. And
Yep.
hopefully
you
everyone
can find
will.
me on Twitter.
Oh yeah,
you can find
dude.
me on
I always
Twitter.
forget plugs. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, at Kyle underscore Cobra with a K. I have some spicy takes and some stupid memes.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you like that meme that I tweeted earlier today about Obama? Dude, I had so much fun with
I
that.
don't know, man. Brown's kind of sus. You know. They just had Obama.
Exactly.
They don't call me
had to
Obama
go.
for nothing. I got Obama.
All right, man. Well,
Oh,
thank
man.
you. Thank you for coming on. And
Thank you.
we'll definitely do the Zero and Kyle show again. I know I said
yeah,
Cotton
brother.
was going to be here for it, but no, I don't think so. He's dead. He's dead weight. So
Yeah. Intellectual lightweight.
all right. Yeah, for sure.
He's the impossible Whopper of the Burger Boys.
That's the vegan one, right?
Yeah, the fake meat.
That's sad. That's sad. The fake meat. All right, man. Well, talk to you later.
All right, bud.